It started with a clock. Not just any clock, but a hulking beast of dark wood and tarnished brass I found buried in the back of a dusty antique shop. The shopkeeper, a man whose eyes seemed older than the relics he sold, gave me a strange look when I pointed to it. He said it hadn't worked in a century. I didn't care. I loved its Gothic face, the Roman numerals carved with unsettling precision. I paid him a pittance and hauled it home, mounting it on the main wall of my living room. It was a centerpiece, a conversation starter. For the first week, it was just that, a silent, magnificent piece of furniture. Then, one Tuesday evening, it started ticking. But the sound was wrong. It was a heavy, deep thud, like a slow, deliberate heartbeat. I looked up, and my own heart skipped a beat. The long, ornate second hand wasn't moving forward. It was crawling backward. One tick, then another, counterclockwise. I chuckled to myself. What a strange, broken thing. I figured it was just a mechanical quirk, a charming flaw. You went to bed thinking nothing more of it. The next morning, I couldn't find my favorite coffee mug, the blue one with the chipped rim. I searched everywhere: the dishwasher, the cabinets, the sink. It was just gone. I shrugged it off, annoyed but not alarmed. People misplace things. It wasn't until later that day, when I noticed the photo on the mantelpiece was missing, that a sliver of unease crept in. It was a picture of me and my sister at the beach, our smiles frozen in a perfect summer moment. Now, there was just an empty space on the wood, a faint rectangle of dust where the frame had been. The clock kept ticking backward. Thud, thud, thud. Each tick echoing through the house with a finality that was starting to feel sinister. The next day, an entire shelf of books in my study vanished. Not fell, not moved. Vanished. One moment, they were there, a colorful spine wall of stories and knowledge. The next, a gaping void and a fine layer of dust settling on the empty shelf. Panic started to bubble in my chest. This wasn't a coincidence. It couldn't be. My eyes darted to the clock. Its hands were moving relentlessly backward. 10, 9, 8, a slow, methodical erasure. Every tick now corresponded with a loss. A vase of flowers disappeared from the dining table, leaving behind a few stray drops of water that evaporated before my eyes. A painting lifted right off the wall. The nail it hung on, vanishing a second later. The house was being stripped bare, piece by piece. The vibrant life I had built within these walls was being unwritten. The silence grew heavier, deeper. The usual creaks and groans of the old house were gone, replaced by the solitary, maddening tick of the backward clock. Then, the furniture started to go. First, a small end table. Poof. Then the armchair I loved to read in, its worn fabric and familiar shape dissolving into nothingness. The dread was a physical thing now, a cold weight in my stomach. I was living in a rapidly emptying shell, a stage being cleared for some terrible, final act. I tried to stop the clock. I stood on a chair, my hands trembling as I reached for the hands, but they passed right through them, like ghostly apparitions. I tried to take it off the wall, but it was fused to the plaster, as if it had grown there. One evening, as the clock's hands crept past the reversed 6, the front door vanished. Not the lock, not the handle, the entire door. Where it had once been, there was now just a seamless, solid wall. I was trapped. The windows were next, one by one, the glass and frames melting away, replaced by the same blank, unforgiving plaster. My home had become my tomb. The air grew cold, a damp chill that had nothing to do with the weather outside, if there even was an outside anymore. That's when the knocking started. It wasn't at a door, because there were no doors. It was coming from inside the walls. A frantic, desperate pounding, as if something was trying to break in, or out. The sound moved, scurrying behind the plaster like a trapped animal, its echoes amplified by the house's increasing emptiness. At the same time, the shadows began to behave strangely. My own shadow would stretch and twist, detaching from my feet to crawl up a wall, independent of any light source. Shadows of furniture that no longer existed flickered in the corners of my eyes. It was then that I finally understood. The clock wasn't counting down to a time. It was unwinding reality. It wasn't just removing objects. It was erasing their very existence from the timeline. The photo of my sister, I tried to picture her face, her smile. The image in my mind was blurry, fading, like a forgotten dream. The books, I couldn't remember their titles, their stories. The clock wasn't just taking things, it was taking the memories of them, too. It was erasing history, my history, tick by agonizing tick. The reversed hands approached the three. The knocking in the walls stopped, replaced by a low, guttural whisper that seemed to come from everywhere at once. It spoke a language I didn't know, but I understood its meaning perfectly. It was a promise of oblivion. I looked down at my hands. They were becoming translucent. I could see the floorboards through my own skin. The clock was no longer content with inanimate objects. It had turned its attention to me. The cat. My cat, Apollo, who had been hiding under the last remaining piece of furniture my bed lit. Out a terrified yelp, I watched in absolute horror as he flickered like a bad television signal, and then dissolved into a wisp of gray smoke that was gone in an instant. I screamed, but the sound died in my throat. Even my own voice was being unmade. I couldn't remember his purr, the feel of his fur. There was only a hollow ache where the love for him used to be. Now, the clock's hands are approaching the reversed 12. The final number. The house is a featureless white box. There is nothing left. No furniture, no windows, no walls with texture. Just smooth, empty space, and the clock and me. My legs have faded completely. My torso is a ghost. The whispering is louder now, a chorus of forgotten voices calling my name from the void. I am staring at the clock's face. The second hand ticks backward. Thud. My left arm vanishes. Thud. My right. I know what happens when it reaches the top. It's not death. It's so much worse. It's the state of never having been. All the love, all the pain, all the laughter, all the tears of my life will be nothing. An error corrected. A story erased before the first word was ever written. The final tick is coming. I'm trying to hold on to a memory. Any memory. My mother's face, the taste of rain. Anything to prove I was here, but it's all slipping away. The hand is almost there. There is no one to remember me. There is no me to remember, Thud.